This week we are discussing making tax digital for income tax. Some years ago we saw the introduction of making tax digital for VAT, where businesses had to effectively report their figures electronically to HMRC, pay their VAT directly through software, cloud accounting. And actually I think my feedback and in hindsight, the reflection on MTD for VAT was a really positive thing. So many businesses that I dealt with embraced using cloud accounting for the first time and actually are seeing so many benefits from that as a result. It was MTD for VAT that kind of pushed them into making those changes, but I've seen so many benefits since then. I don't know if you've seen the same on your clients, Ryan.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, James. Yeah, we did have a lot of bags of records, handwritten cash books and such like. Very difficult to then get a point in time. So I think the digitalisation, the cloud accounting has helped us get a sort of viewpoint at any point during the year. So we can assess certain things for the business, see where they are, how their trading's going, cash flow, weak points and things like that. So it's definitely a positive move forward. I think it's a big step for some initially, but definitely a big step in the right direction.
Yeah. And I think this is going to be the overarching message from this discussion without jumping to the end, and we will go through the points that are relevant to this version of MTD. But I think, Mary, that overall, if people do embrace these changes, there are many, many more benefits that they can sort of bring to their business or to their landlord's portfolio that taking up this technology can really help.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that whenever there's a change in tax and there's a requirement to do more paperwork, it initially feels like it's a headache and there's another requirement there, more touch points with my accountant. But the reality is a lot of taxpayers, particularly landlords, they do proffer up a lot of their information for the tax return considerably after the end of the income tax year. And I think sort of reflection about, how profitable particular parts of that business has been, how much tax they might actually have to pay on the 31st of January is all coming quite late in the day. So I think with a degree of automation and bookkeeping and really sort of understanding the numbers as they land, it should have some benefits if you can sort of cope with the sort of a bit of additional work that's required. Yeah,
agreed. Thank you. So let's get into what this is and how we should be approaching it. Ryan, let's take it back to the start. Aside from MTD for VAT, so what is making tax digital for income? Effectively, is the revenue phrase it?
I suppose it's similar to what MTD for VAT will be. It's reporting of your income, but on a quarterly basis, similar to what VAT was. This doesn't come into effect until April 2026, so that'll be the first year. And it's a combined self-employed income, landlord income, rental income, those two particular activities, sole trader, rental. If they exceed 50,000 gross income, then you'll need to report that on a quarterly basis.
Okay, so what we're talking about here is just reporting numbers. This is not meaning that these affected individuals and businesses are paying their tax any earlier or paying a different amount of tax. This is just reporting their numbers at an earlier...
Yes, you're dead right. At this stage, it is just reporting the numbers. The revenue want to get everyone on board with this idea of reporting these figures quarterly. But there's no link to any tax paid at this stage or anything else with the numbers other than reporting them and the revenue kind of collecting them.
Okay, understood. Thanks, Ryan. Mary, why are HMRC bringing this in if there's no additional tax take to the exchequer? What are the reasons behind this, and is this pointing ahead to something that may develop further in the future?
Well, it's an excellent question, and I think we all have to imagine that it is potentially, I suppose, a tip of a much bigger automation iceberg. So I think you can imagine at some point in the future that HMRC might expect tax payments to be made on a quarterly basis. Now, that's not on the radar at the moment, fortunately, and the sort of the payments on account system we've all become used to for income tax is still the rule. But I think, they're just moving ahead with a digitalisation which ultimately will capture information as it lands. So I think that this is a very much of a soft launch of something where they will be going. But it's going to take time, and you're asking businesses and landlords to keep information in a way that they've never been asked to do before. So yeah, it's a soft launch.
Yeah, okay. And specifically then, in terms of who this is affecting, we're talking about businesses and landlords, but specifically it's unincorporated businesses, isn't it? So limited companies. Even if you're a landlord with a limited company, you're unaffected by this. This is individuals.
Correct. This is income tax.
Yeah.
Self-assessment. So you're right, if you've incorporated your rental portfolio into a corporate, you're privy to a different regime.
Yeah, okay. And Ryan, you mentioned earlier the sort of size thresholds as to when these affected taxpayers need to start reporting. Can you just clarify what those are and when people would actually be obliged to start to report their data?
Yeah, of course. So it's the combination of the sole trader, so your business, your trade, as an unincorporated, or rents that you receive as a landlord. The combination of those gross incomes, if it exceeds 50,000, then you have to start making tax digital requirement from the 6th of April 2026.
Okay, next year, yeah.
The year after, the limit comes down. So the year after, 6th of April 2027 onwards, you will need to be at 30,000. So anything above that, then you'll need to report that. And then your quarterly returns are on the end of the normal quarters, I would say. So March, June, September, December. They do give you a final quarter to do an adjustment. Yeah. They appreciate that some of the figures maybe, I don't know, some of the information might have been missing. They may have misreported something. So there is a kind of adjustment period towards the latter part to get that all corrected.
Okay, understood. So what we're thinking are businesses with a combined turnover in excess of 50k. Next April, you start reporting. That's April, May, June quarter.
Correct.
Reported July, August next summer, 2026 is when those first businesses are affected. And as you say, smaller organisations and taxpayers the following year. Okay, thank you. I think that's relatively clear. Mary, how do you think affected taxpayers will need to change their procedures? I guess that's quite an open-ended question, but we're talking about computerising records predominantly, and for some people, we're talking quite small businesses. Their records may not necessarily be ready to be computerised, and there might be some upheaval there.
Agreed, and I think there's two approaches to it, isn't there? Right? There's the we'll see where this is going. We can take a fairly simple approach to it. We can pull together fairly high-level numbers on an Excel spreadsheet, share it with our accountant, and there is ways and means of getting that to HMRC. Now, I think in the conventional sense of digitalisation, that's a bit of a sidestep, isn't it? So, but I think for simple businesses, there's an element of practicality around not embracing software, and some taxpayers will go that route. I'm minded that, as I said, that this is the tip of potentially a much bigger iceberg of automation with HMRC. So continuing to put stuff onto Excel spreadsheets, it feels like you're just protecting yourself from something that's coming down the tubes. And at some point, you are going to have to get onto software. At some point, you're going to have to embrace it and pay for it. And unfortunately, there just is a bigger admin burden on taxpayers because of this. So, but this is a soft launch. We have to see where it goes. And undoubtedly, certain taxpayers will approach it in different ways.
Yeah, agreed. And I think certainly from my perspective, the lessons we learned last time with MTD for VAT was that, there's no real reason to delay until the last minute and get stressed and worked up about it as we get to April, May, June next year. There's every opportunity to start to look at some of these programs, speak to your accountant, your advisor, speak to us now about the benefits, what sort of system may well work for your type of business, what may suit you the best, and so you're ready for it. And as we said before, embrace those opportunities that sort of cloud accounting brings alongside the obligation to do this. Ryan, what can Lovewell Blake do to help people that are concerned about this and may think they need to take action?
Well, we can help them file things if they need them filed, or we can help them through the process of making a change. Now, are they completely manual records and they bring it to us at the end of the year, or are they, maintaining spreadsheets like Mary said, and they actually want to go the next step and be ready for it for when the changes come? So we can help them set that up so that they can be on the right software, whether that's Excel spreadsheets or whether that is using a bespoke piece of software which the revenue accept, and we can get them set up so they can do it themselves, or we can do it in-house, bring that, take that burden away from them, supply us the information in a certain format, whether that's digitally or whether that is, in a bag of records or whatever they want to bring in to us, whatever works for them really, and we can get them filed. So they're in safe hands. If they speak to us, we can point them in the right direction.
Fantastic, thank you. Yeah, so I think the message there really, just to wrap up, is to think about this if you are affected sooner rather than later. As Mary, as you said, it is a soft launch, and so HMRC will be understanding about these smaller businesses who are doing this for the first time. But really, have a think about this. If you are affected, do a little bit of research, speak to your accountant. We're happy to help. All three of us do work on this topic regularly, so can help you directly. But ultimately, I think it's just one of those things that we're going to see more and more computerisation, more and more leading from it as over the years to come. And we just need to work together to almost leverage this obligation to get some additional benefit from it for all our clients. So I think on that note, thank you both for joining me.
Thank you, James.
If anyone wants to speak to us personally, you can get our details from our website. But in the meantime, thank you all for watching and listening, and see you next time.